It's been a minute since we've made a video. Caiden is at work, Remy is laying down for a nap, and I figured right now would be perfect time. So basically, everything you've missed. In May, we're gonna have another little girl, and so we'll kind of keep you updated on that. A lot has been happening. I was supposed to have a video out Sunday, and a lot just ended up happening, so I didn't get that out, but I'm gonna stay on top of it this time. I figured today we would do a what it was like to be 18 and pregnant, because it was really difficult. It was not easy. So I'll just jump on in. I met Caiden in April of 2018. We had talked online since like 2016, but we had actually officially met in April of 2018. And somewhere in like June or July, we fell pregnant. We didn't know for quite a while. I think we found out in August, and I had just noticed I hadn't had a period. We were living together because, you know, I came out of foster care and moved to West Plains, and I noticed that I hadn't had a period, so we went to the doctor and waited nervously in a bedroom, or in a waiting room, not a bedroom. Sorry, I'm just trying to listen to her bedroom. But we waited in this waiting room, and, you know, like, he was kind of joking around, and we were like, fine. They came in and she was like, so you're pregnant. Great, right? Like, what goes through your mind whenever someone says that? You're just like, oh my gosh. So the car ride home was about 45 minutes till we were home, and it was the longest, most quiet car ride I have ever been on. We finally started talking about like the time we hit the highway that led to his grandparents' house where we were staying, and we started talking, and he was just like, we can't do this, blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm not gonna get rid of this child. Like, you know, if I end up doing it without you, I end up doing it without you. So, you know, I'd say about a month went by. It was like 3 or 4 weeks, and of knowing, and I was like, okay, I'm tired of keeping this to myself, like, because it eats at you. So I wanted to tell everybody, and he didn't want to tell anybody because he still didn't know like what he wanted. And so I just kind of took the leap and posted it on Facebook, which didn't go over well. I mainly did it because the friends and what like family I had grown was all on there. I didn't want to just, you know, like, I was in a rough spot growing up in foster care. Like, it was just difficult. So his mom freaked out, like majorly freaked out, was texting me awfully, and it was to be expected. Like, they barely knew me, I barely knew them. Like, me and Caiden were the only ones that knew, and here I was, you know, telling the world. So I decided to take the post down. I took it down, and that night Caiden went over to his friend's house, and like, I was just kind of left at his grandparents' house. I was just kind of isolated myself, locked myself in the bedroom and cried. And he came back, I want to say at like 2 a.m.-ish, and he was wasted. Like, he was not good. And he just kind of cried in my lap and fell asleep on the floor. So the next few weeks were hard, you know, because everybody knew. I started to feel like I shouldn't be staying there, and just all throughout that pregnancy, it was so much different than this one. Like, because he wasn't really ready to be a parent. Like, he didn't understand, okay, well, this is, you know. And his mom was like, oh, well, you took away his chances of doing anything. Well, it wasn't just me who took them away. He decided to do it as well. I mean, so that really weighed heavy on me. Like, I have always kind of felt like it's just been my fault that he didn't really get that, I wouldn't really call it childhood, but like teenhood, where he got to go and run around and party and, you know, all that stuff. I'm like, but to me, that's not important. Like, you don't need to go and party and everything. Like, you did that all throughout high school. At least most kids did. And for the first few months, we ended up just, you know, hanging out with friends and having pool parties and everything else when we still lived in West Plains. So it just kind of, like, it just seemed like it was meant to happen, if that makes sense. So a few months went by. We had Christmas, you know, and everybody was, like, acceptant of the fact that we were going to have a daughter. And I love my daughter to pieces. I wouldn't trade her for the world. I wouldn't trade this one for the world. Like, we have grown a lot. But it was not easy. I will say that. Because me and Caiden had jumped into a relationship where we were living together because of my situation. And we, you know, then we get dumped on like, oh, you're gonna be parents now. Like, it was never easy by any means. And so when the time was coming for me to have Remington, I was scared. I was really scared because I was like, what if he ends up leaving me? What am I gonna do? Where am I gonna go? And we had some pretty gnarly fights because that first year, you know, whenever you're first getting to like realize who someone is and how it is living with them, it's not easy. You will fight, you will bicker, you will, you know, go on. And on top of that, I'm growing, I'm hormonal. We're living in a small little bedroom. I mean, it was not easy at all. We definitely talked about moving. We talked about, you know, what it would be like if I didn't live there. And for a while, I did come and live in Springfield, and he stayed at his grandparents. And I want to say that I ended up staying in Springfield, but I didn't. It was almost every night I was over there because we would be like, oh, well, I miss you. He'd be like, I miss you too. Or he'd be like, I miss you, come stay the night. And so I ended up staying over there more nights out of the week than I did in Springfield, so I just ended up moving back. So we ended up having a baby shower, and a lot of people showed up. And, you know, it was kind of nice because, like, I had friends, I had the family, like, support, I had, you know, just kind of everything. So we had a baby shower. We got almost everything we needed and then some. And our tiny room is now becoming even more cramped. So we had kind of talked about moving. He was working at the time, and so whenever March came, I knew that baby was ready to come out. Like, my body could not take any more, okay? I tried castor oil. Don't ever try it because it does not work, okay? Doesn't. We tried walking. We tried riding on the dirt roads, anything. So one Friday I went in for my appointment, and I was like, listen, I gotta get this membrane swept because this baby is ready, and I am ready. Like, I could not get any bigger. So I thought, this pregnancy has come to prove me wrong. So I got my membrane swept, and that night I bounced on the ball. I was doing squats. I was holding on to the side of my bed doing squats, like pulling myself back up. We took the dirt roads home. I was determined because the weekend before I had false labor. Now, false labor is very common, like leading up to the weeks that you end up going into labor. And so I didn't know that, but it literally felt like labor. Like, I was timing them, they were a certain amount of time apart, and they just kept lasting and lasting and lasting. And so finally, I want to say about 5 a.m. is whenever it officially woke me up, but I was like tossing and turning the weekend before. And 5 a.m. I got up, and Caiden's grandpa was up, his grandma was up for some reason. And I was just like, I don't know if it's time. She was like kind of rubbing my back, I just didn't feel good. So I ended up finally about 9-10 o'clock was able to lay down, and I fell asleep. And so that's when we knew, okay, it was false labor, but that kind of prepared me for what it was going to feel like whenever it really started happening. So the next weekend, we kind of were a little nervous. I didn't think I was actually going to go into labor. So I fell asleep Friday night, and I was kind of just bummed. I'm like, okay, well, no labor, ready to get this baby out. But so the next morning, I woke up again at 5 a.m. and I was like, oh my God, this has to be the real deal. I was like crying. I was rocking on the floor. Like, I was on all fours rocking. I was trying so hard to be comfortable. But the timing was like off. It would be like every 7 minutes, every 4 minutes. Like, there was no consistency at all. And so I was like, no, this can't be. There's no consistency. And I was laying in the bed trying to, and I would like have to keep moving to get comfortable. And Caiden got up, I want to say about 7 o'clock, which was really early for him because usually, he slept. He slept as long as he could. And so his grandparents had to go and take one of the cars to the shop or pick a car up. I can't remember. So they left. They said, if you think it's time, load up. We'll already be out. Just give us a call and tell us, and we'll meet you there. I was like, no, I'm gonna bear through this. Like, I was trying so hard. Like, his grandma, I say that, okay. He lived with Annie and Papa, and then he had his great grandma, but we all call her grandma. And so whenever I say his grandparents, I'm talking about Annie and Papa, and whenever I say his grandma, I'm talking about grandma. So his grandma was still there, and she was like, how you doing? Like, everything else. I wasn't doing good. I was walking around the house trying so hard to be comfortable. I was crying, and so finally I'm like, okay, I need to get something in my system, because if this is, I'm not going to be able to eat. Granted, this started at like 2 a.m., but I didn't wake up till like 5 a.m. because I would toss and turn and everything else. And so I got some ice in a cup, and I went over to the sink, and I got stung by a paper wasp, okay? So at this point, I wasn't crying because I was like, okay, I need to eat. I want to bear through this. A paper wasp stung my toe, okay? It was under the cabinet where, like, there's a little gap. This paper wasp was, like, this big, had black and yellow lines all the way down it. I screamed bloody murder. I thought I was dying. That hurt so bad. My toe was like swollen. I had this big ring around where I'd gotten stung, and it just had like a little red dot in the middle, but it was so red and swollen. And finally, I just couldn't eat. Like, I was so uncomfortable, and I told Caden, I said, this is the real deal. We're going in, because there's no way this isn't the real deal. So we went in. He was kind of skeptical, but I was like hugging the back of my seat, and I was trying so hard. The car ride was probably the worst because we lived past Rogersville and we were going all the way to Springfield. So it was a little bit of a drive. But we got there. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm in labor. I've been having these pains all day. I'm trying not to cry. And so I wait to tell everybody. I had told everybody that morning because a lot of my family lived in West Plains. I told them, I said, look, I'm pretty sure I'm in labor. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's bad. So next thing I know, my mom and them, my adopted parents, were already on their way to Springfield. She said, if it's not, well, we'll go out to eat or something and we'll go home. Like, and so when I got to the hospital, she was like, you're not feeling all these contractions. And so that explains why I was not, like, completely, like, the time was just not consistent. So we called his grandparents. I was at a 6. I was, so we get back to the room. They give me an epidural because I could not take that pain. Okay, I tried, but I had back labor, which was super hard because I have scoliosis. So they gave me an epidural, and through this epidural, I kept having contractions. And so Caiden's in front of me, the nurse is beside me, she's like, try not to move, try not to move. I'm just crying. I could not do anything but cry at that point. So my parents were there, Caiden's grandparents were there, my grandma and them showed up, everybody was there. So we were just kind of waiting. And we went in about, I want to say 11 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't have her till like 8 o'clock that night. So as you can imagine, I was hungry, I was tired, and my body, like, I felt like I'd been through hell, but really I couldn't feel anything. So it was like, it was weird. Like, I just felt drained, if that makes sense. So Remy pushed herself out, basically, I want to say, because I ended up pushing, I think, 2 or 3 times. And when I wasn't pushing, when I would have a contraction between them, she would just come out. Like, she was bringing herself out. So really, I wasn't doing anything. But it was really quick. It was so quick. And then she was just there. Like, it was magical. I can't explain that moment. So everybody came in, met her, ended up going home. The next day, it was kind of hard for some of them to get back up there, which was fine, because I really just wanted to rest. I wanted to sleep the whole next day. But it was an amazing time. But labor is definitely not easy. To any of the people that don't get an epidural, hands down to them, because it's crazy. That pain is crazy. But we definitely went through some hardships, and I'm not saying that those first couple months weren't hard either. When we went home, we were still living at his grandparents, and he had just started a new job where he was going to be getting paid more and everything. And we were kind of looking at apartments because I love his family so much, but I started to go crazy. Like, I just kind of wanted to do it on my own way, like, and like if I was breastfeeding, I had to like tell them not to come in the room. So it was just hard. Because, they were excited. They wanted to be around her and everything, and it just couldn't be like that. So we kind of jumped into getting an apartment. So we don't have the best apartment in the world. But we do have an apartment we can afford, and we have, everything we need in it for now. We are looking into getting a bigger apartment since one is becoming 2. But when we first moved, it was kind of crazy, and it still wasn't easy. We were getting used to parenthood and everything. But I want to say, when was it? About 5-6 months ago, he proposed to me. We're going to get married in 2022. We've got another baby coming this year, 2020. We're going to, just continue to grow as a family. We've made strides, let me just tell you. But I don't think I've ever been so in love with someone, like, ever. So just because you get pregnant young and your relationship isn't working, that does not mean that there's not someone out there for you. I mean, honestly. And you never know. That other person could come around. So don't give up. I know it's not easy, especially when you start young. I mean, 18 is young, but some of you guys are out here 16 and everything, and I don't know how you do it. You have to have a lot of support and a lot of love. But motherhood definitely changes you. I mean, I wake up every day and I'm like, I don't even care what I look like anymore, because to me, my kid's more important. If her hair is done and she's dressed and she looks great, well, that's all that matters. So that's my 18 and pregnant story. There's so much more I could go into. Like, we had so many fights and so much had happened where I thought we were gonna break up, but I'm gonna end this video because it's getting long. And I can do one on how we met and you know, how it's been this year and everything. I just kind of wanted to touch base on how Remy came into the world, because she's definitely the most amazing little girl. So anyways, I will see you guys next time. If you have a video idea, comment it below. And if you had a young pregnancy, comment when you got pregnant below. But if you like this video, like it. If you didn't, well, you can not like it. You can give it a thumbs down, but I hope you liked it. You can give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel because we are making a comeback. We have been really busy. We have a ton of new videos, like me and him are gonna have a slime challenge and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So subscribe, hit the bell. You'll get a little notification every time we post a video. And I know we're just starting out, so it kind of sucks, but one day you can be like, hey, I know them, because we're gonna go places with this. So anyways, I will see you guys next time. Bye.